Hello, world. Welcome to the 265th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'm broadcasting from our living room because it is, well, I guess now it's 7 a.m., but I started writing this up at 5 a.m. and couldn't sleep, so I had to do this now. So bear with me. My glasses are the old glasses, so I can't see that well, and I'll try to convey what I'm writing here in some succinct manner to you. So this is number 265. Number 266, climate change emergency protest, will be on December 28th. Today is December 21st, and it is first day of winter 2023. So my dog's going to come here and bother me for a second. So many of you, this broadcast is a lump of coal or a gift, and many of you, this will probably be the last climate change protest that you'll get on video, unless you seek it out on my webpage. The reason is because locally and with friends and family and everything, hi girl, good girl, friends and family and everything, as well as organizations that are local and local friends, you haven't been watching the videos or commenting to me about the videos, and this is my 5th year of doing this coming up next week. So this is number 265. I think by now we should have had conversations. So either you haven't been watching the videos, or you don't care about climate change, or you're too scared to talk about it. But whatever, you're going to have to seek out that information. And my webpage is really good about climate change. Go down it on Facebook. It's it's pretty darn good. I get many scientists and broadcasts and news articles and everything, and put them on constantly on the webpage. So this will be the last one that you'll see on these broadcasts from a lot of you that are local here. No longer sending out these videos to the Gettysburg region. So that includes Green Gettysburg, Gettysburg Rising, and Adams County Democrats. Disappointing lack of response. You'd think these people would be up on things, but they're not. So here we go. Now that's for the lump of coal for the people that haven't been following through. Now for the gift, for the rest of you who have been actually watching these videos over the past 5 years. I'm going to give you the lowdown as to what's happening, and this will be fairly long, but you can break it up into segments and then come back and watch it again. So the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration said, "We're committing Earth and ourselves to climate chaos for the next thousands of years. We're committing Earth and ourselves to climate chaos for thousands of years." This is a government organization saying this. This isn't me. These quotes I do and broadcasts are based on other people, scientists and things like that. Australia has had 40 inches of rain in 36 hours last week. They've also had 6.64 feet of rain in the last 5 days, over 5 days last week. Parts of India had 37 inches of rain in 24 hours. The Earth is holding more water vapor due to increased heat, so you're getting these deluges, and it's coming to the United States as well. It's just happening elsewhere right now. In 2023, the USA has set a new record for oil and gas production. New record. Never before has any country ever produced this much oil and gas. And Joe Biden touts himself as a climate change president. Give me a break. The guy is a climate change nightmare, more so than Donald Trump, more so than any president ever existed, more so than any Arab sheik or anything like that. This guy is cranking out oil, record levels, oil, gas, and biofuels. It's crazy how much is going on. We exported more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia produced. We exported more than they produced in 2023. So it's crazy. The carbon dioxide level is the highest in 14 million years. Now there's a timeline where we had a mass extinction. It's 65 million years ago, the start of the Cenozoic era, which is the beginning of the mammals. But 65 million years ago, due to the asteroid impact, but the carbon dioxide level was fairly high then, and we're at 14 million years right now. So once we get close to 65, game is over. You know, up to that point, though, going up to that point, it won't be pleasant what's happening. Uh, 280 parts per million for carbon dioxide is a safe amount, not 350 parts per million, as 350.org keeps saying. That's based on 1986. Things were already changing in 1986, and they were changing in 1986 because of prior 20 years. So 280 parts per million is the only safe place, and right now we're at 420, 422, 424 parts per million. El Nino, we're seeing the immediate effects of El Nino, but the long-term effects will be through feedbacks and everything, melting permafrost, which kicks even more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And we're going to see the effects of El Nino severely this upcoming 2024 in the northern hemisphere. There's a delayed response, thermal inertia of the ocean. Uh, the oceans have a certain amount of heat that they're trapping. 90% of our heat that goes in the atmosphere ends up in the ocean. They're saving us right now, and eventually they won't. And there's an inertia involved with heating of water and everything, and eventual discharge of carbon dioxide and lack of oxygen and things like that. We're really causing ourselves a nightmare coming up. There's no anticipation locally, nationally, or globally as to what's coming. United States, especially humans in general, tend to respond when things actually happen rather than anticipating what's coming. So you look like a nut job when you're saying, hey, this is coming, and you need to get ready for this. And people are like, what's wrong with you? Nothing's happening. No, nothing's happening, but dramatic things are about to occur starting in 2024. This is what I've been talking about for the last 5 years. Now it is occurring. We're here. We're right at the doorstep of the freeway to hell, and we need to get off of this freeway. But the people in charge obviously don't want to get off the freeway. As Joe Biden is our president, Donald Trump will probably be the next president. They're just going to crank oil away like crazy. So we're not ready for 2024. Gettysburg, for example, there aren't any trees being planted. There's no greenways being studied or mapped out as to make greenways around the town to keep the town cool. They're talking about an apartment complex downtown, building in an open air area that they have rather than build a park to keep things cool. Uh, they're not doing anything about water availability when we hit a massive drought. There are no cooling centers developed. This is locally, but this is also your place anywhere, USA or world. Water availability, no cooling centers, plants, gardens being down the strip of roads we have, no rerouting of traffic around town, netting over sidewalks to create shaded areas. There's no forward thinking as to what's happening. You could get a group of people together and come up with ideas what to do to keep areas cool. But Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA is in big trouble coming up, and they'll respond after it happens, and by then it'll be too late. The fires will start and everything like that, drought. So the delayed effect of carbon dioxide uh, eventually leads to temperature increase. But for me, I've looked at charts over the years, and the two go in sync with each other. The more carbon dioxide, the more heat. The more heat, the more carbon dioxide. You get burning of forests, you get permafrost thawing, you get less carbon capture due to organic plants dying due to excessive heat. So one thing leads to another, leads to the other. So it's like a horse race where two horses are neck and neck, and one causes the other to go faster and faster and faster. Things are spinning out of control, and they're going to get way out of control starting this year coming up for the northern hemisphere. For example, Christmas time, it's going to be 55 degrees here in Gettysburg. It's supposed to be 40 or whatever on December 25th. Now, we're going to get an outbreak from the North Pole probably in January due to stratospheric heating, and it's going to dislodge a massive amount of cold that's going to plunge down south, most likely, is what I'm seeing, going to plunge down south into the middle of the country, just like it did a few years ago into Texas and everything, and then it'll spill east, and people go, what's up with your global warming? This is part of the whole thing, where the whole system is upset. With the Coriolis effect, it's a weakening jet stream. It's no longer keeping the cold up in the north. You get these waves, these Rossby waves, and they occur around the world in a weakening jet stream, which causes these massive outbreaks of cold and then massive heat going up into the Arctic, and then heat waves here. The whole system's messed up, and no longer is the polar jet kept in place with the Coriolis effect and the strong jet stream. Strong jet stream curves, and it keeps the cold air up there. Well, it's a weakening, so you get these weakening, and as I said, the cold air and the hot air can exchange more easily that way, and it's not a good thing. The Earth imbalance. Uh, let's see, experience so far, we've only experienced a small amount of what's coming our way, a tiny fraction. This is a glimmer of what's going to happen to us as a world, and what's coming in 2024 to 2030 is beyond our ability to think about it. We will pass 1.5 degrees this year Celsius since the 1880 baseline, but we've already passed it according to 1750 baseline. 2 degrees will pass 2 degrees Celsius before 2030. This 2 degrees is dangerously catastrophic for survival. If you hit 2 degrees, it causes all these feedback loops. As we approach it, you're going to see more and more feedback loops. It doesn't happen right at 2. We're seeing the effects now, but at 2 degrees and beyond, we're going to rifle right past 2, then and go to 3, 4, maybe even 5 fairly quickly due to feedback loops. We're really, really causing ourselves a situation that I don't know how we're going to get out of it with the present leadership we have and lack of forward thinking. The wrong people are in charge, the wrong people are talking, and they're listening to them, and they're not talking about what needs to be talked about. You're worried about war. Meanwhile, the biggest war ever in human history is coming, and this is 2024 and beyond, and it's the biggest war in human history. Of all the wars ever combined, all the wars that have ever been fought, this is bigger than all of them combined. That's where we are. So 2 degrees, thereabouts, or a little above, the Arctic shuts down, the AMOC shuts down, the circulation of currents through the ocean, it shuts down, and it leads to dramatic effects throughout the whole world. The currents also in the southern currents shut down as well. Permafrost thaw, melting hydrates out of the oceans. Right now it's encapsulated hydrates that are frozen in the shallow Arctic, and if you don't have extreme pressure on them as well as heat, you need several things to keep these hydrates in check. And methane has a greenhouse heating effect of 180 times that of carbon dioxide in the first 2 years, and I think it's 80 times in the next 20 years. More heating effect than does carbon dioxide. So you do not want methane coming out, and that's what's in the permafrost, and that's what's in the frozen hydrates in the shallow Arctic. Let's see here. At 2 degrees, you risk the collapse of the Antarctic, especially the West Antarctic Peninsula, Greenland, and also the Himalayas. The glaciers there can't hold together anymore. You're going to see rock slides, all sorts of stuff in the Himalayas as well as the Alps. Massive forest fires at 2 degrees, worldwide fires. Let's see, hurricanes. Hurricanes will develop, and they'll be devastating hurricanes beyond our ability to think about them. Category 6. Hurricanes will blow up from nothing to Category 5, 6, almost instantly, overnight. We saw that down in Acapulco this year, where it went from just an easy wind pattern to a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane, which devastated Cancun in Mexico. Worldwide, you're going to see fires and deluges, as you've seen in Australia. They had 6 feet of rain in 5 days. 6 feet of rain in 5 days in Australia. I mean, crazy stuff. And then massive droughts. It's a crazy situation that's coming, and I can't do anything about it. All I can do is warn people, and no one's listening. So for me, I had that bit about the what's going to happen as far as temperatures and carbon dioxide running head to head. So also you're going to have shifting of weight. These are my theories on here. You're going to have shifting of weight from the ice melting to the oceans, and it's going to end up in earthquakes and tsunamis, volcanoes, and plate tectonic shifts. Might not see it as a whole, but you're going to start seeing the effects, severe effects, due to all this weight shifting. This is my theory. The Earth, also my theory, is a gyroscope. The Earth is its gyroscope that tries to keep everything in balance, but like a top spinning, as things start melting and heating up, if you tap the top as it spins, it'll keep spinning, but it'll move to a different location. So that's where we're headed. We're moving ourselves out of the Goldilocks zone, which is comfortable and living, to a zone that will be intolerable. But right now, the Earth is trying to keep us in balance, such as in the Arctic, when, as the ice melts, fresh water is discharged into the Arctic Ocean, which freezes earlier. It's easier to freeze at a higher temperature, but that'll only last so long, and eventually that goes away due to the ocean up there heating up. So, also the TikTok chart. This is my chart. It's the International Climate Change Table of Catastrophe. This is my theory. This is another theory I have For every tenth of a degree climate change increase in heat, you have a doubling levels of catastrophe. You're going to see doubling levels of catastrophe, worse, 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 as people in Australia, as people down in Fort Myers, Florida, Acapulco, all sorts of places, China, things are happening. India had a huge amount of rain in one day. So every tenth of a degree increase in climate change, or I'm sorry, in heat, you have a doubling of catastrophes. USA, for example, has had 25 events that were over $1 billion in disasters in 2023. 25 events that were $1 billion each and above in 2023. Example of my table catastrophe, it's a death of 1,000 cuts. Right now, you had 240 climate-related events worldwide that happened in 2023. That represents a 60% increase in landslide deaths that happened last year. 270% increase in wildfire deaths in 2023. 270% increase in wildfire deaths. 340% increase in storm deaths. So these increases keep happening. Our news, three networks here in the United States, plus Fox Television, do not report this stuff, what's happening worldwide. You really don't have a clue what's happening in the United States. Worldwide you do, if you watch Al Jazeera and other channels and European news, things like that. Go to Africa, go to YouTube, type in African news, things like that. But United States, we're really being fooled as to what's happening, and we've become a nation of dolts. We don't really know what's happening around the world, and we think we know things. You know nothing what's happening around the world. This is not some conspiracy thing. Go to YouTube, go to these news networks, and you'll be horrified at the stuff that's happening. Al Jazeera is reporting on the Gaza war, and what's reported in the United States is not what's happening on the ground in Gaza right now. 2023 is the hottest year in 125,000 years. The hottest year in 125,000 years, the hottest ever for humans. Okay, humans bumbling along, swinging around, running into planes and doing whatever we did back then. 125,000 years. This is the hottest in 125,000 years. Did I say that? We had 2 days that were exceeded 2 degrees Celsius above the baseline. So this will become the normal thing as to what's happening. And I suspect with this El Nino discharging heat out of the oceans and everything, we're going to see several days coming up in 2024 above 2 degrees Celsius. And again, this causes other feedback loops, which keeps us at a higher level. So when El Nino leaves eventually in 2025, your base level, your floor has come up for the next La Nina, and we're going to continue to see these bad effects, which is probably worse than the previous El Ninos, even though La Nina is supposed to be a period of calm, and it's not going to be. So we're rifling towards 2 degrees. We'll hit 2 degrees Celsius above the baseline before 2030. But once you hit 2 degrees, that area around there, not exactly at 2, you're going to see us rifling right towards 3 degrees and higher. 5 degrees is not unheard of. 10 degrees is not unheard of. You're having less aerosol masking effects when we're cleaning up the environment, which we need to do, but shipping less sulfur in the atmosphere, less aerosol masking blocking the sun, and you're seeing temperature or sunlight hitting the oceans more, which causes even more heating. So as you clean up, you end up having a heating of the environment in general. So less pollution, more heat. Like when 9/11 happened, the Earth's temperature jumped like 1 degree Celsius or half a degree Celsius due to jet planes not flying during 9/11. Government subsidies to the fossil fuel industries. I think it's like $11 million a second worldwide. It's insane. Subsidies for the fossil fuel industry. It's nuts. We are increasing heat at an increasing rate. So we're increasing at 0.5 degrees Celsius per decade now. So it's going up and up, and we're going to see a dramatic change where it will go from 0.5 degrees, a half a degree Celsius per decade, to 3/4 of a degree, and then 1 degree per decade, and it becomes untenable. You've run away greenhouse heating. 450 parts per million in the past 66 million years ago. At 450 parts per million carbon dioxide, the ice sheets collapsed in West Antarctica. And that's essentially where we are now, because if you factor in the lack of aerosol masking, we've gone from 420 parts per million probably to equivalency 520, 600 parts per million carbon dioxide. we've got a lot of problems coming our way. The last time when the oceans were above 400 parts per million, the carbon dioxide was above 400 parts per million, oceans were 70 feet higher, temperatures were 3 degrees Celsius warmer. So this is what's baked into the pie. We're not seeing it immediately. There's a delay effect, but this is what's coming. Why am I saying this? It's because it's a warning that those leaders in charge aren't on your side. The two major parties, Republicans and Democrats, are engaged in policies that are going to kill us. I'll talk about that in a second. Once the ocean shut down the AMOC, you end up with a stratification in heat. The oceans become more stagnant. And what happens with that then is you get deaths within the ocean because there's less oxygen, less mixing of the oceans, and you end up with stagnation and deaths. And my theory is hydrogen sulfide gas then soon comes to be with plankton and algae developing on the oceans. It eventually dies, sinks to the bottom, and then off gases hydrogen sulfide, which is lethal to mammals. Reptile life doesn't suffer as badly as mammals do with hydrogen sulfide gas. And I do believe that 260 some million years ago, hydrogen sulfide gas played a big part in death around the world in the greatest mass extinction ever. Cooling initially would come when the currents collapse, but my thinking is with such carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere that eventually the cooling effect of the oceans, it's the gyroscopic effect that I was talking about. The cooling effect no longer holds true, and then the Earth gives up and just heats. And that's the way things are going to develop. So what's going to happen now is people talk about the migration issue, the southern border with Mexico. People are coming from down south of Mexico for the most part. And right now there are 181 million people in Central America. That area is going to become unlivable due to climate change and our policies of cranking out more oil. So we cause a situation, causes migration, and then we're surprised when people come up to the border in droves, record numbers. This is just what's going to happen. And people have to leave the areas in the tropical regions of the world. They're going to have to leave and migrate to the north or south. They've got to get out of there. Carbon dioxide removal, everyone keeps talking about that. The technology doesn't exist. Even if it was scalable, it would require $7 trillion a year in investment every year to get it up to scale. Not going to happen. There's not enough money for that. We're too busy killing each other and using money for that. So there's an imbalance of sunlight converting to heat when it hits the ground, and then it discharges back towards the atmosphere, and that part used to be part of the Earth energy balance. Well, there's an imbalance now because of the greenhouse gases, like a blanket, trapping all the heat, trying to leave the Earth and go back into space, and it's not. It's staying within the Earth because the greenhouse trapping effect of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, water vapor, things like that. Coastal cities are in jeopardy. As we approach 2 degrees Celsius, you're going to start seeing these collapsing of the ocean, the glaciers, and you're going to see coastal cities being flooded more and more. So we need to stop warring. We need to stop having wars. This insanity was going on. If you're an outside alien observer, you would see that war is just a crazy answer to everything. Stop spending money on military expenses. Our military budget now is going to be close to $900 billion this year in the United States. If you factor in the Veterans Administration, we're well over $1 trillion spent on war, things like that. And the human effect is off its chart. Thank you for your service. I mean, that's a common thing, and everyone's shamed if you don't say that to the veterans. My thought is the veterans need to start protesting it. We're spending way too much on war. We need to stop exploring more and more for fossil fuel and gas and coal. Stop the exploration. England is doing a horrible job as far as the North Sea as well as Norway. United States is just a prime example of what you don't want to do. China's invested heavily in coal. We need to get off this crazy wagon that we're on right now. So we need to stop subsidizing the fossil fuel industry. I think we're giving them $11 million a second or something or other worldwide. It's insane. Biden administration for 2030 to 2050, they have plans to produce even more record amounts of oil and fossil fuels. This guy is not your climate change president. Don't even kid yourself. The party is not your climate change party, Democrats and Republicans. They're hell-bent on killing you. Their policies will kill us. China and USA must work together rather than fight each other in this cold or hot war we're doing, or these proxy wars. Also, Russia. We need to stop having this war rather than working on peace and working together to survive, literally survive. We're not going to survive this. And the scary part is we get children basically in charge that have knee-jerk reactions and talk about whipping out nuclear weapons and things like that. It's absolute insanity. USA emissions, Joe Biden keeps saying we're down 12% from before as far as emissions go into the atmosphere. The reason is because we're getting all of our stuff made in other countries and shipping it over here. If you look at the U.S. shipping chart as to how many ocean liners are in the ocean at any given time, it's crazy. It used to look like the old jet liners in the air, relatively speaking. It's crazy how many ocean liners are transporting our goods from India, China, Vietnam, other places. A third party is needed. These two parties are letting you down. We need a non-corrupted party. So far, it's the Green Party in the United States. Jill Stein is running for president. Has her head on her shoulders. You women out there, you keep saying, "Oh, we need a woman in charge." Jill Stein, Green Party. Check her out on YouTube and her speeches. She fits right in with what you believe in. And if you're not into that, then you're just a warmonger. That's where the two parties are right now. The two parties are all about war, drill baby drill, no medical coverage for anybody. You look at these two parties; they act like they're going to do something for it, but they're not. No medical coverage for everyone in the United States, and no living wage. The wages are stagnant since 1970, basically. El Nino will end, but the floor of heating, as I said, will come up, and La Nina will be stronger than the previous El Ninos. So there's no getting away from this. You can't think, oh, by 2025 things will calm down. They're not going to. We're in big trouble. So get ready for the global north. That's the northern hemisphere for 2024. This is going to be probably a hellscape as to what's coming. Think of those in peril right now due to climate change. People suffering immensely. In Africa, they're starving to death or being flooded. Also, war. War is prevalent throughout the world right now. It's insane what's going on, especially in Gaza or Africa right now, and Ukraine. We have to work for peace. It requires work. You can't just wish for peace. You actually have to work for it. We have this thing called the State Department, and we don't use it. The State Department is nothing but an extension of the Department of Defense, so-called defense. It's just a worrying thing going on right now, isn't it? Yeah. And all the State Department does is think about how to create more war and fight against other countries. They're not chief diplomats anymore. They've been abused and perverted to the point that all they think about is war. So peace requires work. If you don't have peace, you can't work on climate change together because that requires cooperation. So these administrations around the world, and especially here in the United States, have no desire for climate change to make it happen. And because they have no desire for peace, they're all about war and military and building up more and more military. And $900 billion a year, $1 trillion a year is way too much money to be spent on how to kill each other. Merry Christmas, right? We cannot have climate change being solved without peace, in other words. So give peace a chance. I'll catch you next week. That'll be number 266. And today was the first day of winter. And again, as I said, this is my last broadcast to the people in those organizations locally, the three organizations, Gettysburg Rising, Green Gettysburg, and Adams County Democrats. Friends and family, most of you will not be receiving my videos anymore, especially your local friends. You see me on the street, you don't talk to me about what's happening with climate change. You can find my stuff on my webpage, or you can contact me directly. I know you guys. You can text me or whatever, and you're not following through. So obviously you don't care, or you don't want to know about what's happening. So I'll catch you next week, the rest of you. All right, I'll be number 266. Thanks for hanging in there.